Welcome everyone to Live Out Loud podcast. I am your host, Raylan Sandin, and today my guest is one of my dear friends. I really think of her as a little sister to me. She has just been an amazing bright spot in my life, and I want you guys to get to know her. Her name is Kayleon Dortch. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. Elliott. She is a wife, a NICU grad mom. We're going to get into that. An author, designer, consultant, podcast host, grad student, entrepreneur, you guys, the list goes on, minister, advocate, and public speaker. She graduated in 2018 with a Bachelor's of Arts in Christian Ministry from Regent University in Virginia Beach, and is currently enrolled in Regent's Master of Theological Studies program. She is the author of One Day at a Time, Remaining in Step, as well as the 45-day Keepsake Journal for NICU Moms, which has been internationally recognized, donated to, and purchased by various organizations. As the founder of By Grace Not Perfection, LLC, Kayleon assists individuals and businesses with their personal, brand, and professional development through consulting and design services. I know, she's taking care of my website right now. And I'm so excited. The By Grace Not Perfection brand is an all-around community with My Sentiments Exactly podcast, an online store, webinars, resources, and the free By Grace Not Perfection mobile app available in the App Store and on Google Play. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Gosh, I feel like we have known each other for quite the lifetime here. We have so many parallel experiences, right?
Yes, like we literally just met like a month ago, and I mean, you pretty much know 95% of my life right now, and
yeah, 100%.
It's crazy.
It is. I was just talking to a friend the other day too, and I told her just even these last few months feels like years.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? With all of this, how are you guys doing with the pandemic and all of that where you're at?
It's a lot better than it was at the beginning. Now, at the beginning, it was tough.
Yeah.
Just getting adjusted to, I mean, okay, my husband and I, we're pretty much homebodies for the most part, but it's one thing when you have the choice to go out.
Yes.
But not having the choice just made it a lot harder. Like, we would appreciate being home anyway, but then it's like, when you don't have that choice, you just naturally want to rebel and like be out. So it was hard, just staying in. And for me, I don't naturally gravitate towards community.
Yeah.
Just because I have always been very individualistic. I'm a middle child. I pretty much do everything on my own. So I was used to that. So I don't normally gravitate towards community. So not being around people, I can easily just go to the other end of the spectrum and just not, like, since I'm home, I don't have to like talk to anyone. I don't have to, do anything. So it was definitely hard because being out, going to the store, going to different places would give me an opportunity to be in community and stuff. And so now that I don't have that obligation, still staying in community was really difficult for me at the beginning.
Yeah. Same here. And as I've gotten older, it's become more so that for me as far as being a homebody, and it's become very easy to stay in. Yeah, really super easy.
Yeah.
What has it been like too with having baby? Because she'll be a year. Is it next month?
She turned a year.
That's right.
In May, so she's almost 15 months.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Apologize. Yeah.
But I mean, it's not difficult. I mean, she's running the house. So, but it's pretty fun having my husband like working from home.
Yeah.
Because since she was born, he had to go back to work, and he was like working full time, and he had like overnights and different things like that. So, that was difficult. But, having him home now, especially she's getting to the age where she can recognize if people are gone and different stuff. So it's really nice having him home. But it was like an adjustment with him working from home, trying to still maintain those boundaries, because like I'm used to being here and juggling work and everything with her as a stay-at-home mom and an entrepreneur, but he's not used to that.
Right.
So, that took a little bit of like definitely communication and patience on my part too, not expecting him to do every single thing just because now he's home. So definitely being patient with him transitioning, working from home and giving him that mental space, because for women, you can just easily, just do that. So, so it took a lot of, transitioning at the beginning, but we're enjoying it.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, that the juggling, the mental load, they talk a lot about that we as women, and I'll tell you, even when your kids are gone and grown, we still have the mental load. We do. Even
sure.
And it's just myself and my husband, and I still have that. And I do get I can get very frustrated with him sometimes, and I assume that he is kind of keeping these lists, these mental lists in his head about what needs to be done and where and when and all of that. And he's a wonderful guy. You'd love him. And I know I can hear your voice in my head going, give him a break. Stop. Don't be so hard on him. I know this. But, he is just very much, he goes to work and he comes home and, he one track, though he's a veteran, so he's an ex-soldier, but still very singular focused on a lot of stuff. And
got you.
I have to remember that.
Yes.
He's that way. Yeah, 100%. So tell us about your story being a NICU grad mom. For maybe a lot of people in the audience, they're not entirely sure what that is, and kind of walk us through your how do I want to say this, your kind of baptism by fire into that world. Right?
Straight fire.
Yeah.
Okay. So last year my daughter was due July 22nd, I think it was. Yeah. So she ended up being born May 9th. So that was almost 3 months early.
Yeah.
It was a Monday and I went into labor. I didn't realize I had gone into labor, that my water broke and I was contracting, because I wasn't expecting it for another, 2.5 months. So although people were like, yeah, that means your water broke, I wasn't even thinking about that. I just knew I was in pain.
Yeah.
So, we went to the hospital of course we called and they were like, you might want to, go to the hospital just to, get it checked out. So we go and they're like, you're 7 centimeters dilated. And I'm like,
whoa.
How many are you supposed to be dilated again?
Right.
And they're like, we're going to take you to L&D, which is labor and delivery, because you'll probably meet her today.
And you're like, no, can we stop this?
Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh. So we're sitting there and, they left and I had to change into the hospital gown and everything. And I'm just looking at my husband like, we haven't taken a class. We were scheduled that next week for a labor and birth class.
Oh.
We were going to have our maternity shoot that next week. And then we had signed up for a bringing home baby course. I think it was going to be like the beginning of July, if not end of June.
Mm-hmm.
So none of that had happened. So I was like, I don't know, first of all, how to get her here, because I haven't taken a labor and birth class, which, everybody says those classes don't help anyway, but I'll take whatever I can get.
Sure.
So I'm like, I haven't taken the labor and birth class and we haven't figured out how to bring her home. They're saying, we're going to meet her today. Like, I don't know what to expect. We didn't have our nursery finished because this is supposed to be 3 months out.
Right.
So my husband puts on, like, I love like instrumental music. It like calms me down. And so he like started playing that music in the room, and like, you know, just kind of comforted me and everything, because I was like so scared, not knowing what to expect, because they tell you about the signs of preterm labor,
Right.
but they don't really, it's not really understood that this could actually be a reality. Like, you hear about the signs, but you don't really, they don't press that it actually could happen to you.
Yep.
So I just didn't feel prepared, and that's what made me scared. So they put me on bed rest. They were saying we're not going to slow it down or speed it up. It just depends on when she decides to come. Mind you, she's due in July. This is beginning of May. So there's no telling how long I will be in the hospital at this point.
Right.
So they had me on bed rest. They had me on different like medications that help with her brain development, and also to keep me from being infected, because my water had already broken. So she ended up being born that Thursday night, and we saw her, and it was just like, I mean, just a waterfall of tears, but they had to hurry up and put her under the warmer. So we didn't get to have that initial skin to skin bonding moment. So my husband goes down with her to the NICU, and they're bringing my food and all of that. And so it just took a lot to just process, like, okay, we're parents now. This is happening. So she was admitted into the neonatal intensive care unit, which is long for NICU. So we entered into this new world that we had no idea about, never heard of what it's like in the NICU, what you should expect. There was no like introductory course or anything. Your baby's here, and you just go with the flow from there on out. So thankfully, she didn't have any complications in the NICU. We spent 43 days with her in the NICU. Which by the time she went home, they were saying that she went home faster than any babies they had seen go through the NICU. So she didn't have any complications. She came out breathing on her own, kicking and screaming and stuff. And she was just knocking out all the milestones. So we were so grateful for that. But while we were there, we did realize the lack of mental health support. Because as moms, you know, you're dealing with the postpartum, and just as parents, period, including the dads, your mental health is on the line when you're dealing with traumatic events such as, you know, preterm labor and birth. And so we didn't have access to a psychologist, therapist, counselor. Those were not provided, at least free of charge, but there was even no resource list of where you can go. We did receive like little gifts here and there, just from different parents. They might leave something in the room from different organizations, but overall mental health was not a thing in the NICU. And so it took a lot of crying and praying and just talking and crying some more, and 10 steps forward and 50 million back, progressing through having to leave your child there at the hospital, going home with no car seat installed. You have to go buy a car seat, and then, you know, you have all these things that you have to work through. And yeah, so it was a whole ride, and I'll just stop there. And if you want to like ask specific questions, then you can. But that's just the overall gist of like the NICU and how we got there.
Well, and I mean, I already know, because, you know, you and I have been blessed to spend some time really talking this through together. But what was it? Had you had any experience, like anyone in your family that you knew, or friend circles, or anybody that had preterm labor as well, and that could reach out or did reach out and support you if you did have that?
I had a distant cousin that I knew was born prematurely, and I actually have a first cousin that was born prematurely, but they live in California. So I knew that there were a few family members that were born prematurely, but in terms of like reaching out, no. And I mean, I don't blame them, because my husband and I, we're careful about things that we share and, you know, things that we put out there. So a lot of people didn't know what was going on. But I wasn't, if I can be honest, I wasn't really expecting anyone to reach out, because throughout the pregnancy, no one was really reaching out.
Okay.
So I had kind of done the pregnancy on my own with me and my husband, and just kind of expected this is how it's going to be, you know.
And how did
from here
that
on out.
feel? How did that feel to be on your own during that time too?
It really hurt.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of crying spells, a lot of like working through like emotions, and because of all the crying spells and what it was doing to my mental health and like anxiety and different things like that, my husband really encouraged me to set boundaries, because I kept putting myself in situations, you know, trying to be open and open myself again, and kept getting hurt again.
Get support, open to get support. Yeah.
Just wanting that support and that love. And so I had to set, you know, hard boundaries just to protect myself.
Right.
And it hurt. But yeah, it definitely took a lot of working through, and I didn't rush myself to heal. Still healing.
Good.
Probably be healing for a long time, because that's a very pivotal moment in your life. And that's when you need support the most, especially from fellow moms and women. You know, in your family or just in your circle, that's when you need that the most. And so it was hard, because aside from her being premature, just all around, it wasn't the entrance into motherhood that I had seen or was told. And so a lot of sleepless nights, my husband working 24-hour shifts, and I'm just home with her. And thankfully we had a doula that was able to step in, and she would come so I could get some sleep. And you know, I was pumping and doing different things. So I mean, I shout out to her. She was amazing. I mean, definitely a godsend. She was there during the pregnancy, you know, she was there at the hospital with me, and she was there afterwards until, you know, I felt like I was comfortable, you know, figuring out a routine on my own. But it did hurt, because you had to find an outside source to be that support for you. But I was grateful that God sent us support and a village, even though it wasn't what you would want, or that you would have originally sought out. It was what we needed. And so thankfully we had her. But there were times where I just, you know, I lay my daughter down and I go in the other room and just break down crying, because I'm so overwhelmed, just that I'm doing this by myself. You know, and it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, really, historically and ancestrally speaking, you know, the women, you know, of the village, of the communities were, and especially the older women, were the ones that came around and alongside the younger sisterhood, right? Those who were having children, and walked them through how to care for a child, how to bring the child into the world, and then what to do after, and how to begin to bring the child into the fold of, you know, their own love and nurturing and guidance and, you know, wisdom, and then also to kind of help surround, you know, the younger sisterhood with more and more tools as their children get older. And through this process, have you been able to build a community around you that you feel like, and you know that you can go to, and they share their collective wisdom with you, and, you know, have given you some tools, you know, to kind of work through all of this as well?
Like in terms of mothers?
Yeah, mothers.
Like that I like talk to, not like support group type.
However that looks. Yeah.
Well, there were NICU like Facebook groups that I was able to join not too long after she was discharged. But in terms of like mothers, and especially because I'm young, my husband and I are young. We don't have a lot of friends that have children
Okay.
that are our age.
Yeah.
But in terms of, other mothers,
Yeah.
I would if I can be very honest with you, you were really the first person
Oh,
that was, yeah, sorry.
it's okay. There's no apology needed. I love you. Yeah. Everybody, she's doing her little heart.
Gosh, I was trying to get further on in the
I
interview.
know, right? But this is an
Yeah.
important conversation, and it is one that is so needed because, and I know that this is also why you've been so motivated to become who and what you are.
Yeah.
We often go through these big events, these traumas, and this is, and it's not it's a bittersweet moment. It's a big, wonderful, blessed moment.
Yes, yes.
You have your daughter,
Yeah.
but it's also the trauma of all of that and having gone through everything by yourselves and
Yeah.
even the fallout afterwards and still having to navigate so much of it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say my mother-in-law has been like very huge, with supporting and things like that. And again, we had our doula.
Yeah.
She's a mom, so she was very helpful too. But in terms of like someone outside of our hometown and community, you were really the first.
Well, thank you.
Really the first person.
And I'm honored that you allowed me and still allow me into that space. And I will tell you, being who I am and not being near you,
yeah,
that really is difficult because I would be, at your house and
I know you would.
I'd be squeezing on her and telling you guys to go and, let me have this baby,
Yeah.
love and smush on her.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
yeah, God did send us a village. Again, like most of our friends and people that became Araya's village are our close friends, but they don't have kids. Some of them aren't married, which we like appreciate them. But I was, answering your question based off of
of course
that, had kids and things. But God did send us a village that we needed and really helped us, especially this last half of the first year of her life. Because at first it was a lot of disappointment and a lot of betrayal. So just trust wasn't there just all around the board. So it took a while for me to even be open to any sort of village because I didn't want any inconsistencies in my daughter's life. So it took a lot for me to be open to, again, more praying, more crying, to even be open to asking for help and for being open to people, providing that help.
Yeah, I like that you say that you didn't want the inconsistencies in your daughter's life. And I would extend that to you as well.
See, you hit right in there.
I know.
You do it every time. But I do receive that. I do.
Yeah, because especially when we have had those deep betrayals, right? And those deep the deep violations and the
Yeah.
the situations that we weren't prepared for, um, from our village, from the older, wiser women in our world who are supposed to be there as the crones to give their wisdom to us, right, and give their shelter and their coventry, their arms around us, and when we don't have that, um, and then we have individuals in our lives who then want to come in and tell us how we're not, showing up, right?
Yeah.
When they are the ones who have not prepared those spaces for us. And they're not the ones who have modeled those spaces for us.
Yeah.
I hear you on that, and I feel that indignation for you on your behalf. And for others in who that are listening, you say that one of the things that this has built within you is becoming that person for others that you needed for you.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you and Andre?
It has been, for a while, I thought I was going to have to reach a certain place of healing before I was able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I have found that doing what I'm doing is not just helping other people, but it's helping me to heal at the same time. And I don't know, like I was very bitter and I was very angry and I was very unforgiving. Because of what I wanted but wasn't getting.
Yeah.
And you can't change that. So I had to find a way to take that and use it for something positive if I can. And so everything that or most of what I've wanted, I have made it my mission, so whether it is through a book, whether it's through an interview, whether it's through just one-on-one conversations, to be that for someone else.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond NICU advocacy, but of course that is the main thing that I'm focusing on because that was the period that I was going through. And so I try to provide that encouragement. My 45-day Keepsake Journal, it has, encouraging words and things all of that is what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Every single page is what I wanted to hear, what I would have loved to hear, what I would have loved for someone to ask me. All that is in there. So what I'm doing for other people is being what I wish I had. I can't undo and I can't change anyone.
Yeah.
But I can be responsible for who I am. So, I try to reach out and I will send encouraging words to just friends, and I will send different like encouraging words and different things that I might come across, because I would have wanted somebody to text me. I would have wanted somebody to, just to see how I was doing, and providing different resources and and stuff like that. So that's really been the driving force, but I thought I was going to have to be healed before starting that, but realized that this is actually bringing healing. And every time that I'm able to talk about it and advocate, it gets easier for me to talk about. And again, like, it's making me stronger and it is bringing about healing in my life. So yeah.
I love the words of Mahatma Gandhi, be the change that you wish to see.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because I told myself, Kayleon, you will not be upset and mad at what people are not understanding and what they're not doing if you're not doing anything about it. And so I'm upset that people, aren't treating me, as a mother like they do mothers that have full-term babies or whatever the situation may be, but they might not know about the NICU. So let me raise awareness. This is what the NICU is. Like, I can't get upset for people not understanding how to respond to a NICU baby if I'm not if I'm not offering them a solution, like this is how you should respond. This is what a NICU mom wants to hear. This is what the NICU is. So I'm like, if I'm upset about it, I got to do something to try to bring about change. So here we are.
Here we are is right, my friend. And you guys, I'm telling you, I hope you're falling in love with her as deeply as I have, because this is who Kayleon is, and this is what she embodies. You know, we all have these big moments that we go through in our human experience, and man, she just dove right in, you know, and I really, your message is so powerful, and it transcends just the larger event. You know, it really speaks to the heart of what it means to be having this human experience, and how we take these moments that, you know, can really stretch us and challenge us, and sometimes even break us. But when we're broken, we're put back together in a beautiful way, in a more valuable way. And we have the choice for that. I love that you say, we remain the hero of our own story, even when we become the villain of someone else's. And that's a quote by Anthony Mara.
Yeah.
Can you kind of speak to that?
I saw that, I think it was a few months ago, and I'm pretty sure I really am a water box, and I try to just, you know, I try to hold together, but, you know, over this past year, I have just been through so much. So it wouldn't take anything for like it to really hit me deeply.
Right.
And that was one of the things, because this entire, you know, my daughter's almost 15 months, but this past year, even in carrying her, that during the whole all of that, I was just hearing about how I was the villain.
Yeah.
And it wasn't said verbatim, like you are the villain, but everything that was being told to me and said to me was negative and demeaning and degrading. And I felt villainized.
Right. Right.
And so when I saw that, like it took so much, because I would like go to God crying, because you say this about me. This is what I know about myself. But everything I'm hearing is negative. And it's like one negative comment would just hit me so much deeper than all the congratulations I was getting in terms of like business things that I was doing and different ventures that I was getting, because it just hit a lot deeper than just a stranger saying, congratulations, this is great, you're doing amazing, you're a wonderful person. And so I'm hearing all of these horrible things about myself, and then I'm being interviewed on a podcast or something, and they're saying, you're amazing. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know which one I'm supposed to receive. I don't. And then it got to the point where I was starting to shy away from interviews and shying away from community, and new community at that, because I started being afraid that, I guess I had internalized all the negative, and it created fear that this is who I am. And if I create new community and they think I'm amazing, I'm deceiving them.
Yeah. And it's the imposter syndrome and being found out.
Yes. And soon they're going to find out who I really am, which is what they're saying, which is all a lie.
Right. Amen.
You know? And so
say that again. Say that again.
Yeah, it's the truth. And I just had to distance myself.
Yes.
I had to cut communication for a while to really be settled in my identity, because I'm also adding this new aspect of motherhood to who I am. And, you know, I just had to make sure that outside of motherhood, outside of being a wife, Kayleon is okay.
Yes.
And she is secure in who she is. And you can't stop the negative comments. You can't stop those things, but you can control how it affects you and what value it holds in your life. And so I just had to just redo those priorities and get them in the right place. But But yeah, so that quote really, I mean, touched me deeply because it reminded me that the hero that people see and that God has told me that I am,
Yep.
is who I am.
Yes.
And just, I can't control that people are going to, that I might be the villain in their story.
Right.
Because we're all human. Sometimes we do make mistakes. Sometimes we might not consider the other person the way they want to be considered. And so we might be the villain in their story. But that doesn't change your identity. It doesn't change who you are. And so it was just like a weight was lifted when I read that.
And you've done a lot of work around boundaries. And what I have found is when we set boundaries, right, for individuals in our family, in our communities, in our sphere of relationships in general, when they've gotten accustomed to seeing us in one way, and it has been a way that serves them, doesn't necessarily serve us, right?
Yeah.
Then the backlash, right? Then we can become their villain because we refuse to play that part and that role any longer.
Exactly. And the main thing is to be in a relationship that is healthy for you and the other person. So it's not just about the other person.
Right.
At the same time, it's not just about you, but it has to be healthy on both sides. So if it's unhealthy, you got to do some reevaluating.
That brings us to the next quote that you love by L.R. Noss. Do you want to share it?
Yeah. Basically, it says that self-care doesn't mean me first. It means me too. I will shout it from the rooftops. I love that quote. Because when you think about self-care, it's beyond the bubble baths, and all those things are great. But it really is important when you are setting boundaries. And one thing I've learned is not just to set boundaries in a reactive way, but also to be proactive. You don't have to wait until something goes wrong and then set boundaries, but try to make sure that you're setting clear boundaries along the way. That way they're already in place, or at least you have something to work with if something does, fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to self-care and taking care of yourself, that's what that means, whatever that looks like. It can be seen as selfish. People will tell you that you're selfish.
Yes.
You will get that. You will get that you're distant, you are antisocial, you are doing all these things, you're not considering everyone. But you might not be considering everyone, but you are considering yourself. And one thing I know is I really do trust the Holy Spirit in me. And that has been also just one of the main things that has really kept me through this time, is knowing that my husband and I, we have the Holy Spirit, and he guides us and he leads us. And so the decisions that I'm making are not just, I didn't just pull them out of the sky.
Right.
I have been prayerful, and I do trust that I'm making decisions that please God. Now, whether those decisions please you, I can't control that. And while you don't want to just upset people, your heart is to please everyone. But in terms of your devotion, I can't be devoted to people. And so I had this, I don't know, this, the word isn't coming to me, but.
Epiphany?
No, it's like the opposite. You're dealing with not a contradiction, but we'll just use that, just of pleasing God and pleasing people.
Yeah.
Like how people can be so angry.
Yep.
But you be so pleased at the same time.
Yep.
That was hard for me to figure out.
Right.
Because and it's hard also because you can see people, you can't see God.
Right.
So it's like, I'm trying to trust that you are so pleased with me.
Right.
But I'm literally seeing text messages, social media messages, hearing phone calls of things that are opposite of what I think you say about me and how you feel about me. what do we do with that? And
Right.
so I had to learn, I have to set these boundaries for me, and I have to take care of myself, because just as I'm considering you and I'm trying to do what I can to make sure that you're happy and you're okay, me too. That's
Right.
what that quote means. Like,
Yep.
doesn't mean I just value myself over everyone else and it's all about me, but can I be included in,
Yes.
being taken care of and being considered and being respected?
Yep.
So I love that. I love that quote, because it's not selfish for you to take care of yourself. You're being included just like everyone else is.
Right. Well, and I, I'm a self-avowed recovering people pleaser, when I was a kid, oh my gosh, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there's still
Yeah.
moments sometimes, not
Mm-hmm.
all the time, not as many as there have been, but there's still moments where I feel
Absolutely.
a little catch in my heart or in my
Yeah.
stomach, and am I being, and I'll question and I'll doubt myself, but at the end of the day, I have to go with, this is my life to live, and I have
Yeah.
to go with what is best for me and the context that I'm in. And for my husband, our family, we're a united effort, and you and your husband are as well. And now you have a child, and this is for you to navigate motherhood for you,
Absolutely.
right? And to express it that's authentic to you and build your unit together as a family.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been for Andre, looking on, and watching all of this?
Yes.
I know, here we go, another tough
I'm
one.
sure that just spoke, just my whole demeanor just spoke.
Yeah.
It has been really, really rough.
Yeah.
Because not only was he juggling working full time and just 24-hour shifts, a bunch of these things, and at the time he was working as a hospital chaplain, so that's trauma and stuff.
Yep.
So not only is he, seeing people in the hospital,
On their
side of
worst
their
day.
on, all these different things,
Yep.
and he's trying to recover
Right.
from that, and then he comes home and I'm crying, or
Right.
I need to process this. So it was hard, because he had his own healing that needed to happen, and at the same time I needed that. And so it was very difficult. And just, as a spouse, as anyone that you care about, it's going to anger you just as much, if not more, to see your loved one hurt.
Yeah.
And so it was very hard for him. And just establishing ourselves as a unit has been very hard, because I played such a, I won't say important, but I will say I was always in everything and doing everything and always showing up and always committing in different things. And so stepping back and really establishing myself as a wife and now as a mom was really difficult. And taking not just Kayleon, but now Kayleon and Andre has been very difficult for some people. So it's just been very eye-opening, but it has, just the journey to forgiveness has been, yeah, like he tells me, you're so resilient and you just have a heart to forgive and love and serve and all of this. And he does, and he tolerates a lot of things. But when it came to like me and the way that I was being treated, it was a whole nother ball game. And just that journey to forgiveness for him was, and still is, just taking a long time to move past that. And because of, not just how I was treated before she was born, but also considering after how she's born, the way you treat me is how you're treating.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I can imagine. My husband, there have been situations in our own life and in my life particularly, and he has felt that way too. And yes, I can very much see that Andre would feel that. And
Absolutely.
I know that, you know, when you and I talked, I said the same thing for you. I said, just tell me, I'll bring my shovel. I'm not even going to tell you where I'm heading, girl. You know, I'll take care of it on your behalf.
You crack me up.
Just call me the gravedigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been tough. It's been really, really tough.
But I love though how you say that he has also given you the space to kind of stand on your own and to,
oh my gosh,
he has supported you, but it's been you taking those steps and doing it for yourself, which is a gift in and of itself, you know, for as much as we want to go to bat on the behalf of our loved ones, you know, or our friends, right?
Yeah.
There is something to be said for the way that we hold that space for someone to develop. It's like with our children, and you'll find as they probably, she's already going through this, you know, start to walk, you know, we can't be the ones to walk for them.
Yeah.
So we just have to set up the conditions in order to help them to continue to, they stand up, they get wobbly, they fall down. They stand up, they get wobbly, they fall down, you know, until they can start
they have to learn.
steps. Yeah.
And I felt like I was a toddler.
Yeah. Yes.
this past year.
Yes.
And I really learned, like I wouldn't be doing any of this if I hadn't learned to stand up for myself and to set boundaries. I wouldn't even be sitting here. I wouldn't be advocating. I wouldn't be doing anything.
Yeah.
Because I would have let a lot of things silence me and you know, keep me stagnant. But I mean, my husband is like, you know, this is what you need. He's an only child. You know, so it's another dynamic when you have, you know, siblings and a big family, which he has a big family, but they're mostly extended.
Right.
But I look at him and I'm like, how am I supposed to do this?
Right.
What do you mean set boundaries? Like, how? Like,
right.
how do you do that? And so it was very hard, like me having those conversations and just having to set those boundaries on my own, like was so hard. But then also because I'm with him, a lot of it was associated with him as well. So it's like she wouldn't be making a decision if she wasn't with him. And so then it becomes like this whole, you know, problem.
Sure.
You know, so that was a thing, but it was really difficult. Now there were some conversations where he's like, okay, this phone call is over. You just we're not doing this. You need to get off the phone. Don't let them say anything else. I mean, people were using my business, like reaching out through my business with negative things to say, and just any opportunity available, it was taken for negativity. And Andre's like, so there were a few times where he did, you know, step in and was like, okay, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
But I think it did. I think it was surprising that I was able to stand on my own. Yeah. Because I have always been I've been aggressive internally, but very passive externally. So it might bother me, and I really don't like. I don't agree with that at all. But I'm still just because of who he is, because of, you know, just that connection. But it just got to the point where I can't. Yeah. Well, and it was hard, but I learned, and it took a lot of growing up. Yep. Because I had to see myself as an adult and as a mom, and, you know, just establishing my roles. Because when you're familiar with people, they stay the same age that you want them to stay forever. And so it took a lot of growing up for me, but I'm grateful because yeah, not even just for my daughter and for my husband and my family, but for me.
Yeah.
It was important for me to do that. So yeah.
The environment that I grew up in too was a very sheltered and protected one. Protected in the sense that there wasn't a lot of, was weird. There were certain aspects and areas of my life where I was given free range to do whatever, because out of sight, out of mind. But then when my parents wanted to reclaim their parenting, then it was like stifling and suffocating.
Yeah.
So here I am, I'm in my early 50s now, and I still have moments where I'm triggered. My husband will ask, you know, hey, what are you up to? What's your schedule like? And I'll look at him and I'll immediately go, why, what do you care? Do I have to tell you everything I'm doing? Because, you know, of the backlash of being in that weird kind of dichotomous environment where they cared, but it was oppressive, and then they didn't care, and then you were like free to do whatever, and there should have been some caring involved. Yeah, it was very there's a psychologically there's a ambivalent attachment, you know, where sometimes they'll care and sometimes, most of the time, it's like, you know. Yeah, and it still is something that I'm still working through and unraveling as well. So, but I also resonate with not being seen and valued as my own free agent, you know, and a separate human being. And when we're in those families where it's very enmeshed and you're seen as a reflection of, like a satellite of them.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Rather than your own planet or your own being, right? It does become very difficult, but I'm so proud of you, you know, and I also see and know that these big moments in our life are always used for beauty, or they're always used for our highest.
Yeah.
Right? Our highest and best. And you just really have shown through that. And I'm just so proud of you and your husband. Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
You guys, you can find Kayleon at www.bygracenp.com, and she has a free digital resource. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I actually I have 2 free digital resources, which I'll send you a code for your listeners.
Okay,
so they can
awesome.
use that. One of them is on goal setting, and the other is on friendship.
Nice. Which is what we have, right?
Yes.
Will you be my friend?
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I've claimed you as family, so I don't think.
Really? No, really.
Yeah. And you guys, I'm not kidding. She is a beast with advocacy. She is a beast with her speaking and her coaching and mentorship. And with this journal, it is the sweetest thing. Really, honestly, I think this journal could be used by anyone. Would you say? Or is it more so geared toward?
It's more geared towards NICU moms.
Okay.
Like some of the self-care tips are like NICU specific or hospital, you know, specific.
Gotcha.
But things that I have that are, you know, generally for everyone.
Yeah.
During those 43 days, I wrote a 30-day devotional.
Beautiful.
Called One Day at a Time. And yeah, I had started writing it before my daughter was in the NICU, but the wheels just wouldn't keep turning. And so ironically, it happened when she was in the NICU. Now, the devotional is not NICU specific, but I did write it during that time.
Nice.
But that's for anyone if you're interested in that. And I do have just a general planner and organizer for everyone. But
beautiful.
Yeah, if you want some encouragement, the devotional would be the way to go.
That would be great. And she also does a really fantastic job with branding and with web design and all of that. I'm telling you, she's working on mine. I'm so excited. And her husband says that I'm going to love it, so I trust him.
Oh, yes.
I'm
We're
excited.
excited.
Yes. My friend, thank you for joining me today. I know that this is one of many conversations, and I just want to tell you how much, here we go, how much you mean to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And how much you inspire me.
Well,
truly. You know, you don't think that you're going to inspire some old lady, some old white lady somewhere in Arizona, but
who has become like a best friend.
right? Yeah. Yes. Don't you lose my number.
Oh no, no, not at all.
I'm there for you in any way that I can be, and you call me and I'll come running. So thank you for joining me, my friend. Really, really.
Thank you so much for having me and just opening up this space. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You guys connect with Kayleon. I'll be putting all of her connection and social media links in the show notes. And thank you, my friend. Do you have a quote you want to share with us, or a parting thought you want to share?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
She just really hearts you. I really heart you too, friend.
Thank you to everyone for listening and just taking the time to hear my story. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Your story touches a lot of hearts, and it's one that impacts and changes a lot of people, and you're providing that service that you didn't receive, but you're becoming that, and I adore you for that. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys.
All right.